Have you ever noticed that some cats seem closest to you right after you stop reaching for them? You probably think trust grows when you pet more, call more, and show more affection. But the truth is, many cats start to feel safest not when you do more, but when you make room for their choices. And once you understand that, the way you read distance, routine, and even silence from your cat will never feel quite the same again. Why does your cat walk into the room, look right at you, then stop just 3 feet away instead of coming closer? You probably think that if you pet more, call more, and keep reaching out, your cat will feel more loved and trust you faster. But for many cats, comfort does not begin the moment you move in. It begins the moment they realize you know how to pause. And by the end of this video, you'll see why trust is often built less by pursuit and more by the kind of space you leave behind. A lot of cat owners make the same mistake without even noticing it. They judge closeness by the signs that are easiest for humans to read. Instant excitement, constant attention, quick obedience, the kind of response a dog might give the second you walk through the door. So when a cat stays quiet, keeps a little distance, or comes close only on its own schedule, people often read that as detachment. But cats did not enter human life along the same road dogs did. In 2014, a study in PNAS traced domestic cats back to the Near Eastern wildcat, and that story runs through the Fertile Crescent early grain stores and the rodents those settlements attracted. That matters, because from the beginning, cats stayed near us, not because they were shaped to follow orders, but because living around us worked in their favor too. You can feel that difference even now. A dog may be praised for doing exactly what you ask. A cat usually decides first whether the moment feels right, whether the place feels calm, whether your presence fits the rhythm it already trusts. In 2004, archaeologists on Cyprus uncovered a cat buried beside a human in a grave, dated to about 9,500 years ago, long before the image of cats as eager rule followers would have made any sense. By the time Egyptian art began showing cats in households more than 3,000 years ago, they were already living close to people in a way that was intimate, useful, and still deeply self-possessed. And that is where many owners start reading them wrong. They expect affection to look like surrender, when with cats, it often looks more like permission. Your cat may not be asking, "How do I make my human happy?" It may be asking something quieter. "Does this person move in a way I can live beside?" And once you hear that question, a lot of behavior that seemed distant starts to look different. It also explains why 2 cats in the same home can respond to the same person in completely different ways. Knowing what a signal means does not automatically make your cat feel better. A lot of people learn one thing about cats, feel proud of themselves, and then ruin the moment by pushing too hard right after. Your cat gives a slow blink from the hallway, and instead of answering gently, you stand up, walk over, and turn a quiet invitation into pressure. In 2020, a study published in Scientific Reports found that cats were more likely to slow blink back when humans did it first, and they were also more willing to approach after that kind of exchange. That matters because it shows something simple. Some of your cat's clearest signals are not just there to be noticed. They are there to be answered. And the answer your cat usually wants is smaller than most people think. The difference is often in the timing. You soften your eyes. You keep your body still. You let your hand rest on the couch instead of reaching into their space. Then the cat closes the gap on its own. In 2022, another study looking at human-cat interactions found that cats tended to respond better when people used a gentler style and paid attention to the cat's choice to continue or step away. So no, doing more is not always the loving thing. Sometimes the kindest response is a pause. Sometimes it is waiting 1 extra second at the bedroom door or letting your cat brush past your leg before you try to touch them. That is why 2 people can love the same cat and get very different results. One keeps trying to prove affection. The other becomes easier to trust. And here's the part that stays with you. Some people live with a cat for 10 years and still never learn how to feel safe from the cat's side. But even when you finally do, another question shows up. Why do some cats change the most, not when you respond well, but when your routine suddenly disappears? And here's where many people still get it wrong. They think comfort always looks like petting, holding, or constant closeness. Yet cat care guidelines from AAFP and ISFM have stressed for years that predictability, choice, hiding places, and control over contact matter deeply to a cat's well-being. So when you disappear from the routine, the change is not just emotional. It is practical. The house sounds different. The timing is off. The familiar person who usually leaves the bedroom door cracked open or walks past the window at 7:10 is suddenly missing. Your cat notices. That is why the strongest proof of trust is not always the moment your cat presses against you. Sometimes it is the moment your absence is big enough to disturb the whole day. And later, when we get to the final piece, and that is exactly where the next question begins. Why do two cats in the same home react so differently to the very same person? If you really want to know how much your cat has woven you into its life, do not only watch the easy moments, the ones where it curls up near your legs at 9 p.m. on the couch or follows you into the kitchen at breakfast. Watch what happens when your timing changes. Watch the day you come home 2 hours late. Watch the weekend you leave for one night. Watch the room your cat keeps visiting even after you are gone. That is where the relationship can start to show itself in a way people miss. In 2020, a study published in PLOS One found that about 13.5% of the cats in the sample showed signs linked to separation-related problems. That does not mean every cat who cries at the door is heartbroken in the human sense. It also does not mean every quiet cat is fine. But it does tell you something important. For some cats, as your presence is tied to the ordinary rhythm of the world. Mealtimes happen, lights go off, the apartment settles, the front door opens at roughly the same hour. And when that order shifts, the cat does not just miss you. Sometimes it starts acting differently because the day itself no longer makes sense in quite the same way. You can see that in small things. A cat that normally naps on the armchair may start pacing the hallway. A cat that barely speaks may begin calling at 6 a.m. A cat that usually ignores the bedroom might jump onto the bed and stay there longer than usual. In 2018, researchers reported that after a longer separation, cats and owners often showed more interaction at reunion than after a short one. That is not dramatic movie-style devotion. It is quieter than that, but it is real. The bond shows up in the way the reunion slightly changes the air between them. This is where a lot of people still get trapped. They want one clean answer that works for every cat, one rule they can carry from one house to the next and trust every time. But a 2021 study built on data from thousands of cats found clear differences in traits like fearfulness, sociability with humans, and tolerance for frustration. That means the same behavior can carry very different weight depending on which cat is doing it. One cat waits by the front door because it wants contact. Another hides under the bed for 20 minutes and still cares just as deeply. Same home, different animal. You can feel that in ordinary life. The confident cat jumps onto the couch before you even sit down. The cautious one stays on the rug, watches your hands, and only comes closer after the room settles. Some cats want your voice. Some want your predictability. Some want a little distance first. And that is exactly why people misread them when they chase one beautiful meaning for every gesture. It feels comforting. It feels tidy. It is also how a cat gets turned into a story instead of understood as itself. So after everything we talked about, the question is not whether cats bond. They do. The harder question is whether you are paying attention to the version of trust your cat is actually offering. Not the loud version, not the easy version, the real one. The one that shows up in timing, in space, in the way a certain cat stops scanning the room quite so hard when you are near. That is the shift. Not asking your cat to love in a way that makes sense to you, but learning the form of trust that makes sense to them. And when that starts to happen, you can see it. Your cat stops bracing for you.